1:46 a.m. Romanian radar detects a Russian drone 19 kilometers from the border, still over Ukrainian territory. 6 minutes later, the drone enters Romanian airspace. 4 minutes after that, it disappears from the radar after flying 10 kilometers over Romanian territory. Moments later, it crashes into an apartment building in the center of Galati on the Danube. We were all scared. I was at home. I live behind that apartment building. It happened at 2 a.m. and we were all scared. My mom, my family, the children, because of that drone. We could have died. I'm afraid to say what to say. I'm speechless. 2 people were injured, but other residents of the apartment building also needed psychological support. Fortunately, the injuries were superficial. However, they were taken to the hospital for further medical examination. At the same time, 2 other people needed medical assistance on the spot. These people were not injured, but they suffered panic attacks. The Garan 2 drone was part of a Russian airstrike involving 43 aircraft, attacking Ukrainian ports on the Danube. Russia bears full responsibility for this incident, a country that has been waging a war of aggression against Ukraine for over 4 years. In light of this situation, the Consul General of the Russian Federation in Constanta has been declared persona non grata, and the Consulate General of the Russian Federation in Constanta will be closed. This is the 28th time a Russian drone has violated Romanian airspace since the start of the full-scale invasion. Previous incidents ended in fields and wastelands. This time, the drone struck an apartment building in the city center. There were no realistic options for safely shooting it down. However, I want to make it very clear that the situation is under control. We are not facing an attack on Romania. We are dealing with the effects of a conflict taking place right on our border. The Romanian president states clearly that the country is not ready for this type of threat. Contracts for modern anti-drone defense systems are only now being signed. The equipment will arrive in a year or 2. Until this equipment is delivered, we have bilateral agreements and NATO framework agreements with partners to ensure the equipment is present in Romania. Some equipment has already arrived, some is yet to arrive. In a conversation with the NATO Secretary General, I insisted on urgency, and he absolutely agreed that this equipment should reach Romania as soon as possible. Romania is a member of NATO and the EU, and it is precisely this fact that caused the incident in Galati to immediately reach the highest political level of the entire alliance. The U.S. ambassador to NATO wrote on the platform X that the United States will defend every inch of NATO territory and condemned Russia's reckless incursion. Secretary General Ruda spoke by phone with President Dan and issued a statement. I affirm that NATO stands ready to defend every inch of Allied territory. We will continue to enhance our readiness to deter and defend against any threat, including from drones. Russia's reckless behavior is a danger to us all. They continue to target civilians and civilian infrastructure across Ukraine, and last night showed yet again that the implications of their illegal war of aggression don't stop at the border. Words of condemnation directed at Russia and solidarity with Romania are coming from all over Europe, including Poland, which is another frontline country plagued by Russian and Belarusian provocations. The Russian drone strike on a residential building in Romania is deeply alarming. My thoughts are with all those affected. Poland stands firmly with Romania and condemns this unacceptable violation that endangered civilians on NATO territory. Russia must be held accountable for actions that threaten the safety and stability of Europe. The alliance's response is under consultation, but as military commanders point out, this is not just about articles, but about a clear NATO doctrine. Today, an extremely serious incident occurred in Romania. I have already had the opportunity to express my condolences and support to my Romanian counterpart. I was with him yesterday, and more important than determining whether we will invoke Article 5 or not is the recognition that the threat exists, that there are countries in the alliance that are under this threat, and that we must all stand in solidarity to face it. The incident in Galati is not an isolated one. one, but it is unprecedented. Russian drones have repeatedly violated Romanian airspace, but they usually crashed in remote areas. Today, for the first time, 2 citizens of a NATO member state were injured as a result of a Russian attack using Russian weapons. Information regarding the defense treaty that Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk signed with the United Kingdom has still not reached Polish President Karol Nawrocki. You have the right to ask whether the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces will sign a strategic military alliance with the United Kingdom, and I have no information regarding the ongoing talks or discussions. The National Security Bureau has not conducted any analyses. What answers would you expect from a logically thinking president who is supposed to take responsibility for a certain signed document? I suppose it's only natural that if I want to sign a document, I must be aware of what's in it, because it looks like Donald Tusk's government has once again allegedly forgotten to inform the head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces about an international agreement. There is only one letter we received from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It was a letter we received in response to our correspondence addressed to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, asking for any information regarding the status of this agreement. However, we also wanted to receive the text of this agreement, because this isn't just about a general bullet point summary. It was information consisting of several points. And what does Prime Minister Donald Tusk have to say about this? It seems that for him, there is no problem. It's not complicated. The government conducts foreign policy. The government drafts treaties and signs them. And the president has the sacred right, once a treaty has been established, to ratify it or not. He evaluates the treaty. The president does not work on the treaty. This pattern repeats itself. In early May, Donald Tusk's treaty with the outgoing president of France was signed in a similar manner. The prime minister signed it without consulting the presidential palace or parliament. The question arises, in response to President Nawrocki being bypassed, does the prime minister expect the head of state to ratify the already signed agreement with London? We asked about this in the same.
President
Nawrocki should be informed of such matters in advance. It is unacceptable for the head of state to learn about any international documents being signed only after they have already been signed, and to find out about it in such an unpleasant manner, over the phone, because he saw a notification on social media. The treaty with the United Kingdom, which the president learned about from the media, is that how it should be? I don't know what the rules are regarding treaties, but I'm sure the government is acting exactly as prescribed by law and constitution. The problem with the current administration is that the Constitution clearly states that both the president and the government are responsible for foreign policy. A violation of all rules and, so to speak, constitutional norms, and a certain good practice, which holds that when an international agreement is being negotiated, the president is kept informed on an ongoing basis about the course of those negotiations and their outcome. Honestly, it's hard to even comment on this. If this is supposed to be an important treaty, how does the government intend to implement an important treaty without first informing the president about the course of the negotiations? Especially since in peacetime, the president is also the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, which adds an additional layer of context to Tusk's agreement with London. This is clearly a matter related to defense. Not only that, as we read the text of this intergovernmental agreement, and I emphasize this, it is not merely a matter of defense. It is a confirmation of cooperation in many different areas, including counterterrorism, air defense, and so on. This modus operandi of his actions, without consulting the president, without seeking compromise in parliament, is an example of how Donald Tusk is looking for a fight in every arena. In every arena, he wants to wage guerrilla warfare against the president. The head of the Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Tusk's government addressed the matter in a scandalous manner, threatening the president. As a passenger on a government plane, the president does not decide how to fly that plane, but there was already a president who was asked, even though he had no such authority, to approve the selection of an alternate airport, and he did not make that decision in time. We all know how that ended. The only sensible thing Radosław Sikorski and the whole team around Donald Tusk can do regarding the Smolensk catastrophe is to remain deeply and shamefully silent, because I view this statement not only as rude, but also as a form of political stupidity, since with such a statement, Radosław Sikorski has everything to lose, mobilizing all those who are well aware of how things looked like 16 years ago. Bypassing the president, bypassing perhaps soon the same entirely, in most matters, replacing laws with regulations. These are the actions being taken by this government. They are unlawful actions. They are actions that undermine our democracy. And yet another example of how they disregard a president elected by over 10 million Polish people. Perhaps the driving force behind the Tusk government's actions is envy of Karol Nawrocki's successes on the international stage, including President Donald Trump's recent confirmation of a strengthened U.S. military presence in Poland. Ignoring the president is shameful, especially since the president has recently demonstrated tremendous effectiveness on the international stage. Take, for example, the additional troops to be deployed in Poland. This is not the government's achievement, as it tried to claim, but the president's. So I think the president should also be involved in relations with the United Kingdom. They treat President Karol Nawrocki as if he weren't there, yet it is well known that he is the key to those excellent relations. And let's not shy away from the word excellent relations between Poland and the United States, because Berlin has been, is, and by all indications will remain Donald Tusk's traditional ally. Donald Tusk is currently at the forefront of politicians who do not really fit into this wise policy of building transatlantic relations. That is why he is a politician who, together with his German friends, is also implementing a plan to push the Americans out. Tusk's government is soon to sign another treaty, this time with Germany. A fundamental question arises: has Donald Tusk already received its text from Berlin? It was supposed to be a routine test, no launch, but with the engines running at full power. However, after a few seconds, the New Glenn rocket exploded in a massive fireball. The explosion destroyed everything on Launch Pad 36 at Cape Canaveral. Material losses are significant, but fortunately, no human casualties were reported. Jeff Bezos, the owner of Blue Origin, addressed the incident on social media. All personnel are accounted for and safe. It's too early to know the root cause, but we're already working to find it. A very rough day, but we'll rebuild whatever needs rebuilding and get back to flying. It's worth it. A massive fireball, much to the horror of customers at local bars, was visible even from nearby beaches, kilometers away from Cape Canaveral. The New Glenn rocket explosion also became an unplanned attraction for the passengers on this flight. The incident will now be thoroughly analyzed, not only by Jeff Bezos' company, but also by representatives of NASA. Spaceflight is unforgiving, and developing new heavy-lift launch capability is extraordinarily difficult. We will work with our partners to support a thorough investigation of this anomaly, assess near-term mission impacts, and get back to launching rockets. This explosion will certainly have a negative impact on the delay of the United States' ambitious plans for space exploration. This explosion of the New Glenn rocket at Cape Canaveral in Florida will likely delay both Blue Origin's telecommunications satellite launch program and may also contribute to a delay in the entire Artemis program. The Artemis program aims to return humans to the moon by 2028. The rocket destroyed in the explosion was slated by NASA to transport the lander with which astronauts plan to land on the moon.
4,
Fortunately, there is a contingency plan, as a second lander and a second rocket are being built, this time by SpaceX. A week ago, the powerful Starship rocket, which is to serve as the foundation for the lunar mission, was successfully launched. But experts argue that explosions, blasts, and errors are an inherent part of the history of space exploration.
Tego typu zdarzenia są
Incidents of this kind are an inherent part of space exploration and research of spaceflight. This is precisely why such tests, whether refueling or firing rocket engines, are conducted to eliminate precisely such incidents during actual space missions. However, there isn't much time to correct mistakes and draw conclusions, because the Chinese are hot on the Americans' heels. These are today's photos of the landing of 3 taikonauts after spending nearly 7 months in space. Beijing wants a red flag with 5 gold stars flying on the moon by 2030. However, the United States is planning another giant leap for mankind.